Hey everybody, welcome back to a new severe weather update. And in today's update, we are going to be going over the current severe weather happening today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. Following that, we'll be going over the future, so any other upcoming storms besides today, the ones I just said. And then we will be begin to start talking about the tropics as tropical disturbances or the threat for them starting has been seen. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting off, here is today's current severe weather. In Iowa and Nebraska, we have a slight risk for severe weather with a 5% tornado chance. Following that, up in North and South Dakota, we also have another slight risk for damaging winds and large hail. Both of these won't be super significant, just a general threat for severe weather today. Tomorrow's severe weather will be further south or further north than today's, but further south than also today's. Tomorrow's threat, we have a slight risk in Minnesota and South Dakota. Threats for these include no tornadoes, some damaging winds, and possibly large hail. And day 3, we have another slight risk, this time extending into north south and Minnesota up here. But finally, on day 4, we have another small slight risk that includes mostly northern Minnesota up here. Now let's take a look at the radar. Let's take a look at the radars. So take a look at the composite reflectivity. And let's first take a look at today's threat. So let's first take a look at the central United States. Let me just remove that. So if we go ahead and run the radar, a tornado watch was issued for this area, not super far down, but for the possibility of tornadoes. One tornado warning is ongoing right now. If we push this along, you'll see we'll have more storm development as the night happens, but it'll quickly transition into a damaging wind threat, extending down here. A damaging wind threat down here with a classic Boeing segment. Also, if we come further up here, you'll see more further storm development back in that slight risk. And we have up here, which is that one storm that is currently ongoing with that tornado warning. If we push this along, the storms will begin to die out, and morning rain will sweep through Iowa and begin that next slight risk tomorrow. Again, nothing major for each. So now let's take a look at the northwest. We're not the extreme northwest, maybe the north central. So storms will begin to fire after the storms down here in Iowa and Nebraska have congealed into that long line. We'll see storms begin to fire back up in here, and maybe even some further development further south. If we run this even further, you'll see that storm development to the south doesn't really progress, but the one up to the north does. This will likely be the greatest threat heading into the overnight hours for the north. If we push this even further, you'll see up on the Canada border, United States and Canada border, there's some pretty intense storms up there. And the final storms that had formed earlier will still be moving off this way as the night continues. You'll see further development will happen. Probably won't be super significant, but further development will happen up in North Dakota. And it'll transition to mostly rain showers up there. So now let's head over to the long range models. I'm not going to show day. I'm not going to show 2, 3. I'm not going to show day 2 because none of it's going to be super significant unless something drastic happens. In which, if that does happen, I'll make another kind of emergency video. But let's head over to the long range model. So let's head over to the GFS model, which is another forecasting model, and let's zoom out to the United States. So this is the GFS model in the United States. And if we go ahead here and show the low pressure systems, we'll see we have the current storms that'll slide off. Here's tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. And then there'd be day 3, or day 4, I'm sorry, with that threat. That'll slide off. And if you're paying attention to the tropics, you'll see these disturbances right there. You'll see one comes into Texas down here, and we have another one right here off in the Bahamas off the coast of Florida. And you'll see that'll eventually go into Florida. Right now it's 1,004, which means it will be a tropical depression, maybe even a tropical disturbance. But you'll see there's 2 areas of possible hurricane spin-ups, or hurricane juice, hurricane juice. And those will both slide into the southern United States, which will pose a flooding threat. I'll make another update on that as time gets closer. But you'll see we have these kind of storm systems that keep firing up here. And the crazy part is there's snow up here. Heavy snow up in the Rocky Mountains, which is a little bit pretty uncommon, especially for being this south. Since it is June, they're usually up in the mid 50s to 60s. But with these disturbances forming off the Rocky Mountains, causing severe weather in the Midwest, it'd be like a classic snowstorm for them up there. If we run this even further, you'll see constant storm systems that form. We even have another backspin off that one from that day 4 threat up here. We have another possible spin back off the backside. You'll see by these intense dark green dots right here. As this one moves off, you'll see these intense dark green dots, which could indicate severe storms. About the same time this happens, we have that low pressure system that goes into the Gulf of Mexico hit Texas, which, if that holds true, could be a significant flooding threat. And then we have that Florida threat down there. Eventually, we could see a small break as we see high pressure set in up here. However, that doesn't mean something could form. That doesn't just mean nothing can form. Wherever there's low pressure systems, like back here in the Rocky Mountains, something could form, over here. Just high pressure will eventually set in, which could give us a small break in the future. But that high pressure does not seem to last pretty long. It'll set in and quickly leave, which will probably mean another system will form. But yeah, so let's quickly take a look at the European model to see about that hurricane situation. So yeah, let's run this ahead. You'll see these constant storm spinbacks. Here's what I was explaining before in a little bit of a higher resolution image. And here is that storm here in the Gulf of Mexico. If we really kind of run this through, it doesn't really spin, but it's still a threat, which could cause some flooding there in Texas. And the Florida one actually does not show a low pressure system, but it's right here in case you can't see it. You'll see the rain move into Florida right here, in that black circle. It hits the Bahamas and goes into Florida, and eventually this actually has it taking a track into Louisiana, which then it'll get quickly taken by this low pressure system right here, which could be the next severe weather because this would be a classic severe weather setup for the Midwest and maybe even Ohio Valley right here. Let's take a look now at the tropic. Well, let's see if we can get a better look at the tropics here. So let's go to Africa, because that's how you can detect things, is by Africa. So if we head down to, let's go to an overview of Africa. And let's go to West Africa. Or no, I'm sorry, not West Africa. Not East. Where's West? I can't seem to find it. So, never mind. We'll take a look at that next video. But that was the update for storms that are coming to the United States in the near future. I made a video on about that on TikTok and a YouTube short. Otherwise, I will see everybody in the next video.